A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us today for the special media briefing on the occasion of the visit of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Right Honourable Boris Johnson, who's actually just finished his conversations and talks with our Prime Minister at Hyderabad House. To give us a sense of the discussions as well as take some of your questions, we have the privilege of having Foreign Secretary Sir with us, Shri Harshvardhan Shringla. Also joining us, our High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Madam Gayatri Sirkumar, as well as Joint Secretary looking after Europe West Division in the Ministry of External Affairs, Shri Sandeep Chakravarti, dear friend Sandeep. I will now hand over the floor to Foreign Secretary Sir to give us opening remarks.
Thank you, Arindam, and let me also thank our High Commissioner, Srimati Gayatri Kumar, for joining us today. Namaskar and good afternoon. As you know, the Right Honourable Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is on an official visit to India from the 21st to the 21st and 22nd of April. And this visit is taking place at the invitation of the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. This is the first visit of the UK Prime Minister to India in his current capacity. In terms of my readout for the program, as you know, the UK Prime Minister arrived in Ahmedabad yesterday. He commenced his visit from Sabarmati Ashram, where he paid respects to the father of the nation. Prime Minister Johnson visited the JCB plant at the Maswad Industrial Area in Vadodara. This is one of the most recent investments by the UK in India. And this investment is seen as a considerable one in the area of earth-moving equipment. Also has tremendous export potentialities. The Prime Minister Johnson spoke about the fact that it would produce a number of units that would be also exported to as many as 110 countries. So I think that is an important fact. Prime Minister Boris Johnson also visited the Gujarat Biotechnology University, which is situated in Gift City in Gandhinagar. The university offers master's and PhD programs in partnership with Edinburgh University. He visited the Akshardham temple in Gandhinagar, and he arrived in New Delhi last night, where he was received by our Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, Sri Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Today, the Prime Minister of UK was accorded a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan, where he inspected a guard of honor at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati. He later laid a wreath and paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar paid a courtesy call on the UK Prime Minister this morning. Later, both Prime Ministers held bilateral consultations at Hyderabad House. This also enabled them to review the comprehensive strategic partnership that between our two countries. Prime Minister Modi hosted a banquet lunch in honor of the visiting Prime Minister. Before that, as you're aware, the two Prime Ministers addressed the media at Hyderabad House. आपको थोड़ा सा इस यात्रा का कॉन्टेक्स्ट बताना चाहूँगा. जैसे मैंने पहले बताया, ये प्रधानमंत्री के तौर पर श्री बोरिस जॉनसन जी की पहली भारत यात्रा है. ये यात्रा ऐसे समय में हो रहा है जब भारत और यूके अपने संबंधों के 75 वर्ष पूरे कर रहे हैं और भारत अपनी आज़ादी की 75वीं वर्षगांठ मना रहा है. यह यात्रा मई 2021 में आयोजित इंडिया यूके वर्चुअल समिट के एक वर्ष बाद हो रही है. आपको शायद याद होगा, इस वर्चुअल समिट में भारत और यूके ने अपने द्विपक्षीय संबंधों को एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के स्वर पर ले जाने का निर्णय किया था. इस समिट में भारत और यूके के बीच अगले 10 वर्ष सहयोग बढ़ाने के लिए एम्बिशियस रोड मैप 2030 अपनाया गया है. रोड मैप 2030 में 5 महत्वपूर्ण क्षेत्रों में जॉइंट प्रायोरिटीज़ आइडेंटिफाई की गई है. In this regard, the main agenda of the visit was on bilateral relations, to review the roadmap and focus on its implementation and on delivering results. During the bilateral talks, the two leaders appreciated the progress achieved so far in various sectors. In the context of the ongoing FTA negotiations, the main emphasis was on further strengthening trade and economic relations. They noted the progress made on the joint commitments after the enhanced trade partnership, which was launched last year. They appreciated the headway made in the FTA negotiations so far and mandated the trade teams to work towards completing the FTA by the last quarter of this year, 2022. An FTA between the fifth and sixth largest economies of the world is expected to boost economic growth, create new jobs in both countries, and double bilateral trade by 2030. Defense and security cooperation was another key focus area for the visit. Both leaders held detailed discussions on opportunities for defense collaborations, particularly co-development and co-production of advanced defense technologies, including in areas such as electric propulsion, modern fighter aircraft, jet engines, complex weapons, subsea radars, etc. In this context, they welcomed the establishment of a mechanism on maritime electric propulsion. Prime Minister Modi invited British industries to take advantage of India's modern defense ecosystem and Make in India to meet the needs of the armed forces of India as well as those of other countries. Prime Minister Modi welcomed the recent UK announcement of an open general export license that will significantly facilitate UK's defense licensing process for India. He also welcomed the open opportunity for Indian defense companies to participate in UK's new helicopter and naval shipbuilding program. Both sides also agreed on intensifying cooperation in countering threats in new domains like cybersecurity, space, artificial intelligence, as well as on strengthening cooperation on counter-terrorism and in addressing violent extremism and radicalism. On cybersecurity, they agreed to enhance the India-UK cybersecurity partnership with a focus on cyber governance, safeguarding critical national infrastructure, and building cyber deterrence. In the context of the current global energy price volatility, both Prime Ministers also emphasized cooperation on rapid deployment of renewables, including offshore wind energy, in which UK is a world leader, and in areas like green hydrogen. They also discussed ongoing health collaboration, building on the successful partnership of the Covishield vaccine. Science and technology partnership, higher education, migration, mobility were other areas that figured in the discussions. The talks provided an opportunity to exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest, including cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. India welcomed the UK joining the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative under the Maritime Security Pillar and agreed to cooperate closely in this region towards their shared commitment for maintaining an open, free and secure Indo-Pacific region. Prime Minister Modi congratulated Prime Minister Johnson for the successful organization of the United Nations Climate Change Summit, COP26, in Glasgow in 2021. They reiterated their commitment to climate action to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement and the Glasgow Climate Pact. The two leaders also discussed the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. Prime Minister expressed deep concern over the ongoing situation and mounting humanitarian crisis. Prime Minister reiterated his call for immediate cessation of violence and conveyed strong advocacy for peaceful resolution of the situation and direct dialogue between the two parties. The two Prime Ministers emphasized the importance of people-to-people contacts, in particular academic exchanges and the movement of students between the two countries. The Prime Minister invited UK universities to set up campuses in India and British students to study in India. In terms of outcomes, the two sides exchanged an MOU on implementation of the Global Innovation Partnership and a MOU on cooperation on India's Global Center for nuclear energy partnership. Global Innovation Partnership is a novel development cooperation initiative which India and the UK agreed to co-finance up to US dollars 100 million to support the transfer and scale Indian innovations to third countries that help deliver SDGs and climate-related goals, and in the process make Indian innovations go global. The MOU signed today establishes a new Global Innovation Partnership Fund to implement the program. Other institution-to-institution MOUs were also concluded in the margins of the visit, including the MOU on the establishment of a short-term chair at Birmingham University, signed between the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, ICCR, and Birmingham City University, and between the National Institute of Wind Energy and Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult. Besides the joint statement, a separate statement on cyber cooperation was also issued, and these would be available in our website shortly. यह यात्रा एक महत्वपूर्ण समय पर हो रही है। भारत यूके द्विपक्षीय संबंधों ने एक नई गति और दिशा प्राप्त की है। यह यात्रा ने अवसर दिया है पिछली वर्चुअल के बाद हुई पहलों को और आगे बढ़ाने का और साथ ही साझा सुरक्षा का, समृद्धि और शेयर्ड सिक्योरिटी एंड प्रोस्पेरिटी के लिए काम करने का। आपको सभी को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ। We can take some questions.
Thank you very much, sir, for your perspective. The same ground rules, please introduce yourself and your organization. Why don't we start with you?
मैं मधुरेंद्र न्यूज़ नेशन से। सर, आपने जैसा कि ब्रीफ किया और पीएम के भी संबोधन में हमने सुना कि यूक्रेन क्राइसिस पर बातचीत हुई, खासतौर पे पीएम ने जो बातें कही कि वॉर जो है वो खत्म होना चाहिए। मेरा सवाल ये है कि क्या बातचीत हुई खासतौर पे दोनों ही प्रधानमंत्रियों के बीच में, और क्या बातचीत के दौरान बोरिस जॉनसन की तरफ से क्या ये दबाव भी डाला गया कि भारत जो सैंक्शंस हैं उनको माने रूस के खिलाफ? इसके अलावा और भी बातचीत के पहलू आप बता सकते हैं?
Sir, Shudhirajan from the Bloomberg, sir. If you could give us a little bit more clarity on the defense cooperation in particular joint development of the fighters that you spoke about, and also what does India expect UK to be able to do in the Indo-Pacific region, given that its navy is not as big and that it's a country that's far, far away from the Indo-Pacific.
I saw another hand there, please.
I'm Sanjay from British IT. Prime Minister Johnson had indicated that he had accepted Delhi's demand for more migration for professionals in UK, which has been the stumbling block for FTA. Can you talk about what kind of discussion took place and what India has been demanding and what UK had accepted?
One more here. Microphone, please.
Hi, Benjamin Parkin, Financial Times. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, said he would raise quote-unquote difficult issues with Prime Minister Modi. What were those issues? Did they involve Ukraine, and how long did they discuss them?
पहले तो मैं माधवेंद्र जी को बताना चाहता हूं कि यूक्रेन के मुद्दे पे बात हुई थी दोनों प्रधानमंत्रियों के बीच, पर इसमें कोई भी दबाव नहीं था। प्राइम मिनिस्टर बोरिस जॉनसन ने खुद ही बताया कि उनके क्या ख्याल थे यूक्रेन के मुद्दे पर, और उनके पर्सपेक्टिव से बताया गया था। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने, जैसे मैंने बताया, हमारी पर्सपेक्टिव से ये मुद्दे पर हमने क्या बताया और हमारे ख्याल क्या थे इस मुद्दे पर, और इस पे इन्होंने ये मतलब साधारण किया कि हमारे तरफ से हम शांति के ओर पे हैं और हम चाहते हैं कि डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी होनी चाहिए। दोनों जो रशिया और यूक्रेन के साइड में जो लड़ाई हो रही है वो इमीडिएटली बंद होना चाहिए, ख़त्म होना चाहिए, और हम चाहते हैं कि ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जल्द से जल्दी रिजॉल्व हो जाए। तो हमारी पोजीशन भी काफ़ी क्लियर थी और इसमें किसी तरह की दबाव नहीं हुई। Defense cooperation, I think you spoke about, you wanted me to elaborate on this. I think both sides felt that defense and security was an important area of potential cooperation. As I told you, UK's recent announcement about providing an open general license for the export of equipment and technologies to India, I think has been a welcome development. There was a discussion on what we could do. I mentioned some of the areas that we discussed: electric propulsion systems that could be used by naval ships. Also, some work on jet propulsion systems, the aviation sector, underwater sea domain, etc. But I think what is important was that both sides agreed that we would facilitate the meetings between our concerned scientists. In other words, the focus is on co-development and co-production in keeping with the our initiative of Make in India and our policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The idea was that there would be greater emphasis on two salient features, which is basically production in India and transfer of technology, using this not only to meet our needs but to meet global requirements in terms of defense items. So what we're looking at is a combination of UK's technology and our production base to make it a win-win situation. And in that context, we decided, both sides decided that we'd facilitate the exchange of the relevant scientists who work on these programs between our two countries, the relevant industrialists who work in these countries, and also that there would be exchanges at the levels of the NSAs who would also oversee and direct this sector. I think Sanjay ji had a question on the students' mobility. Of course, this is a very important part, because when we talk about people-to-people contacts, that bridge between our two countries, I think that both Prime Ministers gave a lot of importance to that connect between our two countries. And in that context, reference is made to the easier mobility between our two countries, specifically for students, for professionals. Prime Minister referred to the fact that universities could be set up, for example, in Gift City, where it would be treated as a foreign university in India, but that UK universities could also consider setting up their branches in India. At the same time, he encouraged UK students to also study in India. Of course, we are aware that a lot of Indian students are looking at UK as an attractive destination for higher studies, but it was also felt that there should be greater mobility for them, the ability for professionals and students also to look at opportunities in the UK. Again, that could meet the needs of both countries on a mutually beneficial basis. I think from the Financial Times, when you had a question on Ukraine, I just responded to this in Hindi a short while earlier. What I said was the issue was discussed. Prime Minister Johnson provided his perspective of how he saw the conflict. He had also visited Ukraine recently. Prime Minister Modi, as I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, spoke about the fact that India has strongly advocated a cessation of violence, a stop of the current, I would say, conflict, and a resolution of the conflict in a manner that is satisfactory. And in that context, he said India stands for peace. India stands, has always been for diplomacy and dialogue. And of course, we do everything possible to facilitate that in that context. So I think the conversation was a very, very, I would say, useful exchange between both sides. It was on very convivial terms, and I think both sides had agreed that they had points of view, and these were, I think, greatly respected on either side.
Okay.
सर नीरज हूँ न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया से। एक पहला सवाल ये है कि इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स जो हैं उन पर क्या चर्चा हुई दोनों प्रधानमंत्रियों के बीच में? भारत ने अपनी मांग को किस तरह से दोहराया, और ये खालिस्तानी आंदोलन जो बीच में ब्रिटेन में भारत विरोधी कुछ चीज़ें होते रहते हैं, उन पर भारत ने अपना पक्ष कैसे रखा?
Any other? If otherwise, we take the last question. अब फिर से दोहराएंगे खालिस्तानी जो उस पर कैसे हमने दोहराया अपना हमारे स्टैंड को कैसे दोहराया? Okay, sir. I think we'll close with this question.
So on the issue of economic offenders, I think you are aware that we have been pursuing this matter for some time at different levels with the UK. Our objective has to bring back those economic fugitives who are wanted in India to face justice in the country. The matter did come up in today's talks. It was conveyed that this was a high priority. हमारी तरफ से पूरी तरह यूके साइड को बताया गया कि ये हमारे लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा है और जो इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स हैं जो अभी यूके में हैं उनका जल्दी से जल्दी वापस भारत आना ज़रूरी है हमारे जस्टिस सिस्टम के पर्सपेक्टिव पे प्रधानमंत्री जॉनसन ने बताया कि ये मुद्दे उनके लिए भी महत्वपूर्ण है कि वो देखेंगे उनके ये मामलों पर ज़रूर रिव्यू करेंगे Prime Minister Johnson indicated that he took note of the point raised by us and he indicated that he was very sensitive to Indian concerns in this regard and that he would see what he could do. But, I mean, this is also, I'm responding to also the issue of, you mentioned Khalistani anti-India activists who take advantage of freedoms that are offered by democracies such as ours. And in that context, I think this point was very raised quite clearly, and I think Prime Minister Johnson, as I said, took careful note of that. He said that he he was very sensitive to our concerns in this regard, and that he would have a close look at that. As far as he was concerned, there was zero tolerance for such people who create issues and that could impact on the relationship between both our countries.
Thank you very much, sir, for your responses and the presentations. I also like to thank my High Commissioner Gayatri Kumar as well as Joint Secretary Sandeep Chakravarti. Thank you all for joining us. Good afternoon.